Hey guys, welcome back to Cruise Blog. It's Allie, and today we're going to be talking about cruise faux pas. We'll be sharing the cruising faux pas that you should never make so that you can have a great cruise experience. Let's get into it. Although the main purpose of going on vacation is to escape the routine of daily life, you must remember the importance of practicing common courtesy while on your cruise, as it will make the experience more enjoyable for everybody. Cruise lines have rules in place to foster a positive and safe environment for both the passengers and crew members. Some rules, such as designated smoking areas, are clearly defined, whereas others might be a little more implicit. Not only is breaking the rules considered rude, but it also risks jeopardizing the safety and well-being of others. Moreover, certain behaviors are impolite even if they aren't outright banned. So here is a list of 13 cruising faux pas that you should not do while on a cruise. The first is being rude to crew members. The crew members on board a cruise work hard to ensure that you have a memorable vacation. While everything may not always go according to plan, you shouldn't take out your anger on the crew. If you have a major concern, head over to guest services to try and get the issue resolved. If they can't assist you, they will get in contact with the person who can. You're more likely to get your problem addressed quicker if you remain polite and level-headed. If anything, at least the experience won't be as negative. You don't want to spend your vacation feeling frustrated. Another thing to keep in mind is rushing on the elevator. Waiting on an elevator can be very frustrating, especially if you are on larger ships. While there are times when the elevator will quickly arrive with minimal people on it, there are others where you'll be especially crowded, such as on embarkation day or when returning from port in the afternoon. It's polite to let the doors fully open and any passengers out before hopping on. If you try to get on while they're trying to get off, there will be a lot of unnecessary pushing and shoving. Instead, just be patient. Moreover, if you're able, you should consider taking the stairs. This will help leave room for guests with mobility issues who rely on the elevators to move from deck to deck. Another faux pas is to reuse the same plate at the buffet. Reusing your plate at the buffet can lead to cross-contamination and the spread of germs, so it's pretty frowned upon. If you don't like the food you finally settled on, or you simply want seconds, leave your dirty dishes at your table when you return to the buffet. There are crew members who will be working around to clear the tables, so you don't have to worry about doing it yourself. Even if you think getting a new plate for a single dessert or a small side is wasteful, it's actually considered common courtesy on a cruise. Speaking of the buffet, there are other proper behaviors that you should keep in mind, such as utilizing the hand washing station, refraining from cutting the line, and using the proper utensils for each dish. Doing your part will help make the buffet experience more enjoyable for everybody. Another thing that you shouldn't do on a cruise is skipping the muster drill. Before you're able to sail away, everyone on board will have to complete the mandatory muster or safety drill. While an actual emergency is unlikely, the chance of something happening is never at 0%. The drill's purpose is to familiarize passengers with their assigned assembly station and other important protocols. Even if you've cruised before, you'll be required to fully complete the drill. Thankfully, many cruise lines have converted to a virtual drill, so you don't have to worry about baking in the sun crammed next to other guests, as you're able to visit your station at your leisure rather than everyone going at once. Another thing you shouldn't do on a cruise is starting an altercation with another guest. The safety of all guests and crew is of paramount importance for cruise lines. If you fight with other guests, you could be found in violation of their safety rules and removed from the cruise ship. You don't want a reputation of being a fighter either. Another faux pas is being a chair hog. One of the most annoying aspects of cruising is that you'll likely have to deal with chair hogs. These are passengers who will leave their belongings on one or more chairs near the pool to reserve them for later use rather than using them at that moment. Instead, they'll go do other things such as return to their cabin for a little extra sleep or grab breakfast. Most cruise lines do try and limit this from happening by actively monitoring the chairs that are being used. At the end of the day, though, there's only so much that they can do. Rather than contributing to the problem and hogging chairs, you should strive to beat them. Get up a little earlier than you usually would and relax by the pool before it warms up. You can also return to the ship earlier on port days to avoid a crowded pool deck. Another faux pas is smoking in undesignated areas. Smoking is permitted on cruise ships, however, you can only light up in designated areas. If you're caught smoking outside of them, you could receive a large fine, upwards of $500 on your onboard account. Smoking is banned in staterooms on most cruise lines, including your private balcony, as well as those public venues. If there's a designated smoking area inside, it's often somewhat enclosed. Think of this as like the casino or maybe a cigar lounge. Outdoor areas are usually found on one side of the ship, such as the port or starboard side. Plus, it's just good manners to respect the rules, as the majority of passengers don't want to be constantly smelling smoke on the pool deck or throughout the ship. Another thing you shouldn't be doing on a cruise is making a lot of noise, especially at night. When navigating the hallways at night, you'll want to use your inside voice to avoid disturbing those who are already in bed, especially if you're returning very late in the evening. Personally, I do not enjoy hearing intoxicated adults yelling in the hall when I'm trying to sleep, and I like to extend the same respect to others. Avoid playing music, screaming, and running. You'll be in your cabin before you know it. Even then, however, you don't want to be overly loud, especially if you have a connecting cabin, as it's easier than you think to disturb passengers in nearby staterooms. Another faux pas is throwing things overboard. Regardless of whether you're hanging out on the pool deck or on your private veranda, you should absolutely never throw anything off of a cruise ship. All cruise lines have very strict rules about throwing things into the ocean, as they have a commitment to protect the marine environments in which they operate. Another thing that you should never do on a cruise is let your children who aren't fully potty trained into the pools. Cruising with young children is different than sailing with older ones. First, youth programming usually isn't included for the youngest sailors, so if you're looking for some adult-only time, you'll need to pay extra to have the ship's staff take care of your kids. Also, infants who aren't potty trained cannot use the main pools for hygiene reasons. If you want them to have a little place to splash around, make sure that you book a ship with a dedicated area. On Royal Caribbean, for instance, this is called the baby splash zone. If you don't book a ship with a splash zone, they'll be limited to swimming during excursions, as they will not be able to do so on board. Another thing you shouldn't do is leaving a mess for your cabin steward. You'll be assigned a cabin steward for the duration of your cruise. They'll be responsible for freshening your stateroom daily, replacing any towels that you may have used, as well as making the bed, emptying the trash, and delivering important documents. To make their job as easy as possible, keep your room tidy. Instead of leaving clutter all over the vanity, make sure that everything is a little bit somewhat organized before you leave. If you feel as though your cabin steward did a great job attending to your room on your cruise, it would be polite to leave them an extra cash tip on the last evening. I usually leave them around $10 per day of the sailing, so I would leave $70 on a 7-day cruise. Another thing you shouldn't do is to spread germs. Illnesses can spread very quickly on a ship, so you should keep up with your personal hygiene. For instance, after you use the restroom, wash your hands. You should also wash or at least sanitize before going into the buffet, as that's a very high contact area. When you have a sneeze or you need to cough, do so in your elbow. Make sure you're covering your mouth. If you feel ill, you should remain in your cabin as much as possible. You don't want to be the reason for getting other passengers sick. Moreover, if you have any troublesome symptoms before embarkation, visit your local physician to see whether you should even sail or not. If they think it's something contagious, you're better off staying home where you can get enough rest and regain your strength faster. This is a good reason that you should have travel insurance. And finally, you should not speak during the announcements. Whenever someone comes over the speaker system, make sure that you pause your conversations. You never know if it'll be an urgent announcement, so it's best to listen up and see what they have to say. All right, everybody, those are the cruising faux pas that you should never do while on board your ship. Comment below if you have anything that you think we should add to our list, and be sure to like and subscribe to Cruise Blog so you can be notified every time we have a new video. Until next time, everybody, happy cruising and thanks for tuning in.